Okay, so now you play against Bogdan Lalic.
Yeah, Lalic was one of the young hopes from the Yugoslav chess in that time. And he was a very talented positional player. Here we played the main line from Taras, which is considered even now to be better for white in any case. But you have to play move by move. You have to be careful not to give too many counter choices for black. So therefore, the game will be very interesting until the end. You see. So okay, this is the main line here. Yeah. Okay. So all right, bishop g2, knight f6. What did I play? Castle. Bishop e7, knight c3, castle. Here, the first moment. White has two possibilities in that position: to play the most normal move, bishop g5, which is complicated, but it seems that gives some advantage for white. It was played many times in these well-known matches between Kasparov and Karpov, a lot of games. So even now is probably considered a little bit better for white. This is the main line. The second main line is the way I played. And okay, I took in EC5, and now the idea is very clear. Black takes back, and after knight a4, bishop back to e7, bishop e3. The idea is to control the central squares and mostly the square d4. Put always a piece in d4, or have the control of the d4 square, and later on, if possible, to try to capture to win the Isolani from d5. If you arrive to this, it's very good for white, of course. Very good chances to win. All right, so now bishop e3. Here, black has a lot of moves. Rook e8, considered in that time the best. But black can also play here. I played in some other games, even Gligorich and many other grandmasters. Black can react instead of rook e8, bishop g4, bishop f5, knight e4, or knight g4. These are the other possibilities. In any case, complicated, in any case, a little bit better for white by good play from both. All right, bishop, rook e8. And now, okay, move by move, we have our game. You see. So knight c5, best. Now black gives you the pair of bishops, but it seems that he could free himself because he played very quickly rook e8, bishop g4. He gave the bishop in c5, and now he has time to put the queen in d7. Now, if you are not careful and you give him the possibility to play in good conditions bishop h3, black is all right. If he can trade the bishop from g2, is okay. So therefore, the best move here is simply rook e1. Why? Because now after bishop h3, you retreat the bishop in h1, and you keep the bishop on this strong diagonal.
This is important to attack the...
To attack later on the Isolani from d5. This is endgame. For endgame, it's excellent to have the bishop, you see. And maybe trade the bishop later on when you wish with white. But here is better to retreat. Okay. So bishop h1. Knight e4, bishop e3, and rook d8. And here, knight d4, knight d4, knight e5, the best. And bishop f4. Well, until now, I had some games with other grandmasters before Lalic, where white was always a little bit better. I won all these games. So therefore, our game here was so important because he tried to play better with black, to find a better plan. But anyway, white is better. Even the way he played, white has always a small edge. Why? Because we have this fantastic knight on d4. In any endgame, when we arrive in endgame or any middle game, white keeps the control, the central squares, the attack later on d5, and some better chances threatening simply, to come with the rook in c7, for instance, to have the control of c5. So, right, black has to try to equalize if possible. Okay, so now I took you can imagine all this was theory in that time until here.
Mhm.
Yeah. So okay, E3, he has to wait now, has to be quiet and wait. And here, White tries to win some space little by little, little by little, a little bit more, and so on, So okay, very simple, Rook C2 threatening to come with the other rook and C1, have control of C file, So what to do? Black has to try to trade some rooks, But, okay, rook C2, C1. He took. I took with the queen. Now we propose the endgame. If he plays rook C8, White agrees
To
to
trade?
trade both pieces, But every endgame is much better for White. So he waits, He waits. Now White is threatening something again, move by move, provoking some small weaknesses all the time, So knight f6. Now he hopes you take in b7. Now if you take in b7, he has time to play rook b8 and he can hope to free himself, because he can take with tempo in b2. But of course, White doesn't play like this, and
And now you agree
now
to
you agree to trade the bishop, because now you have control on the b file and on the c file,
Mhm.
Therefore, White is clearly better. And the knight from d4 is much better than
The other
the
night.
black knight from f6. And the small weakness, the pawn d5, you see. Enough. By this very high level, it will be enough. So, right, he wants now to trade the rooks. Okay, we trade the rooks. And here I put the knight back, provoking the next moves, you see. It seems he has time to put the pawns on black, you see. This is the idea, to try to have some small counter chance, So of course he plays b6 to put the pawn on black, you see. It was much better to be on black than on white, because if you have 4 pawns on white, it's more dangerous for black, you see. You can attack the pawns on white. It was already clear that white wanted to play maybe knight f4, attacking 3 times on d5, you see.
Yes.
So therefore, at least he has 1 pawn on black. All right. So now he comes back, and now again we don't want to trade the bishop. You see, we provoke the second weakness. He has to play a5. If he plays b5, was worse because again the pawns are on white.
And they'll stay there.
And they stay on white, and it's very dangerous because we put the queen in c3. We have complete control, and later on we attack the pawns. You see. Very easy to play for white. I explain. It you look like this, any normal player doesn't really understands the big difference, but the difference is very big because the white advantage is very clear, and white plays and black, looks.
Plays
This
alone.
is the problem. So okay, a5, and now after a5 again f3, move by move. Now the bishop has to go back, g6. All right. And here queen c3. Now, again, very unpleasant. Black has to take the decision. Very unpleasant decision because we forced the small weaknesses b6 and a5, and therefore now the normal idea queen c5 is not good.
Why?
If he plays c5, he loses immediately a pawn. Queen takes c5, b takes c5, knight b3. Both pawns are attacked. He loses 1 pawn, finished.
Yes.
So what to do? I mean, it's the only way is to put knight d7. You, you have to play something. And now we have time to have control on the other side. Check. Now everything first again. King there, queen d8, Zugzwang. Here, black is completely tied up. Like this. Because of this fantastic knight from d4, white has complete control all over the board. You are pinned on the deep file and you have no move. The bishop from g6 has a very bad position, has the diagonal, but he can't do anything from g6. The knight from d7 is pinned, and the queen from d6 is pinned, So what to do? He played queen e5 desperate, and now after king f2, again, he probably has to lose something, all right? So not knight c5. Why knight c5? Because after queen d6, if instead of knight c5, if he puts back the queen in d6, after bishop h3 or bishop b5, he loses again something, but decisively. And he loses a piece,
Yes.
forced. So, okay. He has to put the knight, to hope to have some small counter. But now it's finished because he loses a pawn and the b pawn is free. The b pawn comes very quickly. So what to do? So knight e6, the only hope. Now it's e6, b4, e6, knight b4.
But it wasn't better to take here? No, because you lose here, right? I,
No, of course, no. You have to
yes.
be b4, okay, b4. I told you the b pawn is coming. Now, okay. Well, he resigned here. No, or
No, no. You took?
he took. Yeah, I took with the pawn, and here knight g5. And after knight g5, what did I play? Queen c6. Here he resigned. Look at this. Nothing to do against b5, b6. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
very clear. At the end, it seems very clear, but until here was a strategical demonstration how to do it. Very small advantage, a little bit bigger, decisive at the
Decisive,
end,
yes.
But this is the very high technique from, from the strong or very strong grandmaster at that time. Human, of course,
Yeah,
but very interesting.
true.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.